Congratulations for caring so much about your ministry and those you serve. I believe you are about to grow to another level as a leader. I know you may be feeling stuck or on a plateau in your ministry or in your own personal leadership. I believe I can understand and relate to some of those things and what you're feeling and what you're going through. And so I hope that the material and the content that we're going to give in the next few minutes is going to allow you to grow and to be energized as you charge forward in leading your ministry. Hi, I'm Dr. Rodney Aiken. I've been married to my wife since 1985. You see the picture of my family there, my parents, our daughter and son-in-law, and my wife Paula, and then our son. As a third-generation pastor, I've been in the ministry over 30 years. I was the lead pastor for over 15 years at the same place and enjoyed the ministry that I had there. I led a staff from a size 2 to over 50 people. So I know what it means to grow from a small church feel to a larger church feel. I have a PhD in communications, and I'm passionate about resourcing and developing leaders. In 2013, I formed the Connexus group. I really believe that God has called me to be a missionary to the corporate world in the areas of leadership development and also to resource pastors and ministry leaders in the areas of the same leadership so that I can help you to lead better where you are. I'm the developer of the Ministry Imprint assessments, the Imprint assessments, Launching Forward Leadership Academy, and then I'm the author of The Journey, a Personal Life Plan, Personality Imprint, and the Career Shaping Tool, along with a leadership blog, and I do a lot of other things with that, but all wrapped around the understanding of learning to lead yourself well. You see, if you can't lead yourself well, it's hard to lead others well. So I want to talk today in this time that we have together on how to energize the chronically unengaged 80% of your church. How many of you out there would raise your hand and say, I have at least 80%, and I know the ones in my church that are chronically unengaged? How do we address that? So we want to energize them so that you can end volunteer burnout. You know, you want to get your church unstuck or off of the plateau, and you want to reach the full potential in your ministry. Getting them unengaged and to the engaged side is going to mean that you have to be engaged and you know how to help them and get engaged. And oftentimes that takes the resources and the tools to help you do that. Fortunately, we're living in a day-to-day where there's so many opportunities and ways that we can do these things that we don't have to feel like we're doing it all alone. As we go through this time together, you're going to learn some things that I hope will help you. One will be how to identify, how to cultivate, and even deploy an army of volunteers. You see, we're moving toward a volunteer church, less staff and more volunteers, and that's a good thing. As we disciple new members and help those who have been with us to understand what they're passionate about and how to move forward, you develop and deploy an army that wants to do the work of the ministry. It'll also help you learn how to gain and maintain the momentum in your ministry. You know, momentum is a big thing. Once you get it going, you never want to slow it down because when you do, it's hard to start again. So we want to help you gain it and then maintain that as you move forward. And then how to place people who are passionate about ministry, and you want to put them in the right ministry roles. You know, understanding where people fit and how they're gifted by God. God didn't do that by accident. He didn't give them a spiritual gift and a personality and teach them how to learn and put all that inside of them by accident. He did that so that they could fulfill the body of Christ and do what he knows really needs to be done, which is the Great Commission and to learn how to disciple others. This time we're going to spend together is for leaders who believe in empowering the base to increase ministry impact. I mean, if you really understand, you have a base in your church and ministry, that if you could really empower them to do what they're passionate to do, it would be amazing what would happen. And so you have an ability to do that. But we also want to have leaders who really don't want to reinvent the wheel for member ministry placement. I mean, why, again, do you need to try to reinvent something that's already there and that can be used on day one? And then this is also for leaders who take action on new paradigms that are proven to work. You know, as we move forward, every day is a new day. We're moving technologically and we're advancing in so many ways that the church sometimes has a hard time keeping up. And so we want to help you do that and do it in a way that will benefit you in the ministry. And so pastors and ministry leaders, there's some things that I see about them and I know that it happens. And one is that word right there, overwhelmed. When I talk to the average pastor, they're working many, many hours during the week, more than they need to be, missing time that is valuable with their family, with even their own private time, just some time to get away. Many don't take the kind of vacations. Or I talk to pastors that says, I've never taken a sabbatical. I'm just overwhelmed. I can't leave. I can't be gone. I can't stop, because if I do, what's going to happen to the ministry? Sometimes that leads, and most of the time, to frustration. Ministry leaders who are just simply frustrated. I've pushed and pulled. I'm paddling with all I've got, and where do I go from here? And there's tension. I mean, literally, not only the mental and emotional tension, but there also, that brings tension among people. And sometimes it's because the leader is full of tension because of what's going on. You know, in our day, there's a pressure to produce. It seems as though, whether we mean to or not, we're always comparing ourselves with others and with other ministries and with other things, denominations or churches down the road or other things. And so we often feel this pressure on us. How many do you run? What was your offering? How many did you baptize? We're constantly under that pressure to produce. And we miss some of the things that really are what God called us to do and what we're so passionate about. Does that one resonate? I don't know a pastor that doesn't lose sleep. You lose sleep sometimes because you're praying for the sheep. You're praying for those who are hurting. But you also many times are losing sleep because of those words we already have put up on the screen. You're frustrated. You're overwhelmed. That pressure, that tension, and it keeps you up at night. I mean, you think, wow, if I could just have 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep and just rest without anything on my mind. But when you go to bed at night, it's on your mind. You wake up through the night and those things are on your mind. And you get up in the morning and it's still on your mind. Oftentimes, those put together leads to a loss of vision. You know, it feels as though I've been pushing and pulling. And as I said earlier, I've been paddling the boat with all I've got. And it feels like I'm just in it to keep everything going. But I'm not real sure where I'm going. We've reached this level, but I don't know where to go from here. There's a loss of vision. And oftentimes it's because the leader is spending so much time doing the work of the ministry, they're not allowed or spending the time or have the time to be able to actually get involved and prayerfully focus on where to take the ministry. And you know, I hear this one all the time. People contact me, they'll call, they'll text. If you have a minute to talk, and I'll hear this question: do you think I'm done here? You know, oftentimes we know that's probably Satan. It's not of God. But as a result of all of those things that we see on the screen, one of the things that it leads to is, well, if I could find another place, a better place, if I could just start over, I would do it differently next time. If I had a chance to just go somewhere else. And I'm not saying that should never happen, but I am saying oftentimes it's a result and a decision that's being made because of all of these pressure points that are on us, these frustrations that are on us. And it's simply because we don't know where to go. We don't know what to do next. And can I just be quite blunt with you? If you really have gotten in ministry to this level and you don't know what to do from here going forward, if you take another ministry, you may face that same thing. So learning how to get unstuck is key. Learning how to get off the plateau and to lead people with you, it is crucial. And so doing that helps you to become the leader at another level and lead again with passion and with vision. Tom Rainer just came out with an article, 8 areas where pastors wish they were better equipped. And of the 8, the 2 that really resonated with me that I thought I would mention today is the areas of leadership development and equipping others. Of all of the things that pastors feel that they need to be doing, they feel as though I need to be developing better leaders and I need to be equipping everyone. But I'm not real sure how to do that and what the best way to do that looks like, what it looks like for me or for my church. In that article, Tom Rainer said, pastors, they desire to equip the entire body of Christ, not just the leaders. But many pastors feel woefully inadequate in doing so. You know, again, we have the leaders that they just lead and they're ready and they're passionate and they're just there. And now how do I keep them engaged and keep them growing? That's one thing. But then how do I take those who are not doing anything and maybe they're not engaged, they're not leaders, and how do I help them to develop into that? Well, let me ask you a question. What is the path that you have to do that? Do you have something designed to help do that? What are you using to do that? So they just don't become leaders overnight because you tell them to be or because you hope they will or you pray that they will. You've got to put some things into place and action points and guide points that helps them to know how to do that and how to go to the other level. I'm sure you have, but have you heard of the Pareto Rule? You say, what is that? If you're not sure, well, even if you don't know what the name of it is, I can guarantee you know what it is. And this is it. It's the 20-80 or the 80-20 rule. We've all heard it. We've all experienced it. We face it all the time. It's where 20% are doing 80% of the work. 20% are giving 80% of the finances. 20% are the ones that are engaged. They have the shoulder to the plow. They're pushing forward. They're helping. They see that this needs to be done and they're involved. You know, that 20%, there's something about them. You can just say, hey, I need help, and that 20% rush forward and the 80% go the other way. The 20% go into battle and the 80% watch them go into battle. The Pareto Rule, and I know you faced it. So when you think about the Pareto Rule and you think about the 20-80, I can tell you this about the 20%. They are overwhelmed. And I know that because we work with churches just like yours, large and small, and have faced the same exact thing. You know, I hear pastors all the time saying, wow, you know, if I had 100 more people, or if I ran 1,000, if I ran, 500, if I just had 20 more people that would work, you're going to always find this to be true. Talk to any pastor of any size church, and you will find that they still have the basic few. The 20% is just the number we give. It could be variable in your particular place, but it's just a smaller percentage of people who are doing the work. And I'll tell you this, they're overwhelmed. Oftentimes, that 20% is doing not just 1 or 2 ministries, but they're doing 3 and 4 and 5 ministries. They're involved in everything. They're running from one thing to another. It seems as though they can never get finished with one because there's another ministry or need that the church has. And so they're constantly feeling that, well, the pastor's coming, he must be needing something, and here we are. And it overwhelms them. They feel as though they don't know where to go or what to do at this point. They can't give more than they can give. They can't do more than they're doing. They only have 24 hours in a day. They need to spend time. Often they're the ones that are working full-time jobs, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, then coming to the church and volunteering and teaching and serving and working and doing so many things, and they're overwhelmed. But I can tell you about the 80%. Now, while there'll be some of them that may never get involved, much of that 80% is not involved because they are under-inspired. It's not that they don't believe in what the church is doing, or they wouldn't keep coming. It's not that they don't think it needs to be done. No one has really inspired them and given them the path that they're passionate about, that makes them get up every day and go, wow, that's what I do for the kingdom of Christ. Now, I'm not saying that you're not passionate as a pastor or that as a ministry leader, that you're not really giving it all you have, but there's more than just getting up and giving them an inspirational speech about why they need to serve. They've got to be inspired to feel that what they do matters, that what they do counts, that what they do is not just something that needs to be done, but it is something they really believe God wants them to do that needs to be done. So again, have you heard of the Pareto Rule? I know some of you are saying, heard of it. I'm experiencing it every single day, every week. It seems as though I can never get the unengaged engaged. Well, I know that when you get busy wanting to do that, and if you've got a desire to do that, we can help you, because there are tools now to get that to the point that it can actually move from thinking to action. You know, the 20%, we could call them the core people, if you will. These core people, they're serving oftentimes where they're not even passionate or gifted. Okay, let's stop here just a moment, because all pastors have done this. How many times have you gotten up in a pulpit or in a large meeting and said, you've held your hand up and you said, we need 5 more people to serve here. I need more. I've never been to a church that didn't say, I need more nursery workers. I need more children's workers. We all do that. We need 8 people. We need 4 people to serve here. I need that. And we try to get people to raise their hand or go to the back or go to the information desk, the welcome center, sign up, do whatever. And who does that? The same 20%. When they hear the pastor say that, when they see the pastor raise his hand, it to them says, oh, he must be talking directly to me. He needs me to do this. But they're thinking, I can't do anything else. And often we have them doing things they're not passionate about, and so they're just doing them because of obligation and because they feel as though that the church and the pastor and God needs me, so I must do this whether I'm even happy or not. And let me ask you, do we want a church full of people serving that are not passionate, or that are not happy, or that are not gifted doing the thing that they are doing? Another one of the results that we find is this 20%, the core people, become burned out. Eventually, they begin to say things like, I just can't do anymore. I've just got to have some time off. I just don't know what to do. I'm at a point where I can't give anymore. I can't do anymore. Things like my husband says I've gone too much. My wife says that I'm just at the church too much, or I can't. My children are wondering why I never get to be involved like I should. I'm doing too much, Pastor. I don't know what to do. And they become burned out. And here's one of the things that I found to be true, and I would imagine you've done the same thing in your ministry, is oftentimes they leave the church. You'll be maybe talking to one of your other leaders, and you'll say, well, where is the Smith family, the Jones family? I've missed them. Where are they at? And someone will say, I'm not sure. And we'll find out they've left the church. Oftentimes, they won't even tell you they've left the church. And you know why? They feel as though they've let you down. They've let God down. I mean, you needed them, but yet they've had enough. They've done all they can do. They don't know what else to do. And so they just disappear. So one of the sad parts of pastoring, because a shepherd never wants to see someone leave, not for the numbers, but because you feel a connection, a bond, a spiritual desire to lead them. Now, we can blame them. We can say, well, they just are quitters, or they just didn't want to stay busy, or they just couldn't take it. Or we can be honest and say some of those things could be true, but it could also be true that we as the church asked them and put on them things to do that really they weren't passionate to do, or maybe they weren't gifted to do. Now, you can ask me to come play the keyboard in your church. The problem is I'm not gifted to do that. You wouldn't want me to do that. And after you heard me play a couple of times, you would say, you know what, let's find you another place to serve in our church. Well, the same thing, we often put people gifted to do one thing, but we have them doing something else. That's not serving them, it's not serving the ministry, and it's not even serving God who gifted them in that way to the best of the ability. Now, what about those 80%? Well, oftentimes they're good people. They're not all bad people by any means. They're coming to church. They're involved. They must believe in what's going on because they keep showing up. But they get the mentality, and often they've been taught this, whether they're meant to or not, but it's the mentality that, well, we pay the staff to do ministry. Or you know what, I just don't have the time. There's others who can do that. And so it's almost as though I do my part by coming to the church, showing up at the services, but we have other people who do the ministry. And you know what I found is churches, they use their resources and even sometimes pay other people to do things that engaged members would love to do. One time we were working and trying to find people that could do set design for sermon series, and trying to find people, and I had staff, and we were building and working. And I had a gentleman came to me one day and he said, I don't know if you know this, but I build set designs for a television station that does commercials and so forth, and I build those, and I don't know if you could use me. Well, how many times have we had people like that sitting on our pew that could have done this work, and they would have felt passionate about it? You know, you're paying a plumber $80 an hour, and you've got 4 sitting there in your pew, or painters, or people who could do a number of things that could help you in graphic design, web design. You've got them sitting there. And what are you doing? Are you engaging them? And one of the things you would say, well, I guess I am, but I don't know who they are. I don't know how to get a hold of them. And so that's what we want to talk about with you today. So what if I could help you and your leaders get your passion back? Well, I think that would be worth the time that you're investing in this webinar today. Or if I could help you identify and equip an army of volunteers who are passionate to do the work of ministry with you. So, you know, if you could pull all of this together, and you at the helm, or you're leading in whatever area you lead in your church, and you lead with passionate ministry volunteers, I wonder what the result would be. What if I could give you a strategy to help with member retention? It's not good enough to have a big front door. You got to make sure you're closing the back door. And the way you do that is get that 80% passionate and involved in what they're doing. Get them inspired to do that. So what if I could assess every member's skills, their passions, their experience, their spiritual gift, and even their personality, so you would know where and how they do their best work? I believe by doing that would help you understand in so many ways what would be usable and beneficial to build a ministry. So I'm sure you're thinking, okay, go ahead and tell me, what is the answer? Well, I believe we have the answer. While there may be other answers that may address some of these things, I believe that we're going to help you to address in a very straightforward, simple, very cost-effective way that you can answer the questions that we've been bringing up, or maybe you've been thinking about over the last few minutes. And we call it Ministry Imprint. There's a database, and the Ministry Imprint puts all of the information in a database where we help the volunteers get engaged from the pew right into serving where you are. So I want to take a few minutes, and I want to let you dive into the Ministry Imprint database, and I want to show you what it looks like. So the Ministry Imprint database, it's at ministryimprint.com. We want to help you as you are seeking volunteers to discover how skills, experience, passions, spiritual gifts, and personality equip your members for ministry. You're going to look at these individually. Let's take a moment and just show you what they are. Each member of your church would receive an online assessment, and it's comes in their inbox, in their email, and the boxes are there for them to take these 5 basic assessments. The one is their skills, and all it is a bunch of a lot of words, a ton of skills that'll be listed, and they'll just check the boxes of those that tell us what kind of skills they have, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then they'll check the boxes of the experience. What experience do they have? Where are they experienced? And what are they passionate about? Not only what they have already done, but maybe they're passionate about things that you as a church leader know you're thinking about doing. Well, that's a great place to find that out. And then they're going to take a spiritual gift analysis to understand where they serve best, and then a DISC personality assessment. So now you know how they think and you know how they're wired. I've often used this even when I was pastoring to help understand how to even counsel people to understand what their spiritual gift and what their personality was as well. So now as we dive into the dashboard, this is what it looks like for you as a ministry leader. You get to see the spiritual gifts, personality types, and even we add the learning styles. And there's 2 basic kind of assessments that will be taken. One is basic members, and all of their information will go into your database. And one is the premium leader, and all leaders will get placed on the 3 wheels. I want to take a minute and show you what the assessment looks like for a leader when they take it. So this is just an example of what they would see. They understand that their personality and their spiritual gifts. So this person is an innovative personality, the spiritual gift of giving. They have an auditory learning style. And there's all the list of skills that this person has. And they just check the skills off. And so all of these words are going in our database. And then what do they have experience in? So these are things that helps you to know that they already know how to do these things. And so you may have someone or something that needs to be done. Here's an electrician, a welder. Those are things that will go in your database. So you would just put in welders, for instance, or electricians, and their name would pop up. Not only the things they're experienced about, but what are they passionate about? When you begin to see these things that they're passionate about, it now helps you to understand some things that maybe you might be thinking you want to begin, new ministries that you might want to do. So this allows you to know who's passionate about those things. They will also see their DISC personality profile. They will also understand how it breaks down into the 16 pattern of DISC. So this person is an innovative, and it allows me to understand what that means. Then in their spiritual gifts, it allows us to break this down into the 9 basic spiritual gifts from their strongest to their weakest. So I know this person has the gift of giving, and it tells that person all about that and what that means. But I also know that this person, the last, number 9, the bottom, the weakest spiritual gift is administration. So I don't need to put this person doing anything as far as administration or administering in the church. Organizers lead things and work with things, but administrators organize people. So I'll know that this person is not gifted for that. And then there's just a ton of information here. Who are you? What do you do under pressure? When are you at your best? Where are your blind spots? How do you work with me? Some characteristics about this person, some things that motivate them, some traits about them. And then also for leaders, we understand their learning style. So this tells me of the 4 basic learning styles. They're auditory, and it also tells me their second and last. So it just gives me an understanding of how to lead this person. That's what a leader's results look like. And then the basic member results, let's see it just for a moment here. The basic member takes the exact same assessment, except they don't take the learning styles. But all of this goes into the database. Skills, experience, and their passion, what they're passionate about. And then the basic DISC, personality, and then they get the 9 spiritual gifts. So that's what a basic member gets. And all of their information, again, goes in the database and can be searched at this point here. So you could search for passions, or search for experience, or search for skills that you're looking for. And then what we do is we put the church, you can set it up any way you want, but let's say this is these are systems in the church: care, children, staff, connections, whatever. And then here are ministry positions, all kinds of ministry positions. And so everyone that gets a new assessment is tagged. They're put under a system and a ministry. So when they take the results, immediately in real time, their results goes into the database and comes to the place where you can look at it. So let's see, if I was looking at my leaders, this is what the spiritual gift of my leaders looks like. So now I know what everybody on the team, all of my leaders, how they're wired, what they look like. I know their personalities. So now from a disc perspective, I can see what all of my leaders look like and how they think. I can also see from a learning style. You know, if you're a pastor, you think about this. Everyone in your church has at least from these 4 basic learning styles. So as you're preaching and teaching, you want to try to find ways to incorporate these learning styles into your sermons so that you're relating to them in every way possible. So let's then say, I want to look at my children's leaders, but not just children. Let's go down and look at children nursery leaders. So everyone else now is off of the wheels, and I can see just these 4 ladies are leading the nursery. So now I know their spiritual gift. I can look at them by personality and know that I have 2 D personalities, the dominant. I have 1 I, which is the inspiring, and no C or S leaders. And I'll give you an illustration here briefly. I had a lady come to me one time after taking the assessment, and she said, I just don't know what to do. She said, I'm asked to serve in the nursery, and I get it, I understand it, and I try to do that, and I want to do that. I want to help because I'm needed. But she said, I really don't care about keeping babies. I'm not passionate about that. I'm really not, it doesn't excite me, and I don't really enjoy it. Am I wrong, or should I be serving some other way, or how can I help? And so when we looked at her assessment, we found out she had an administrative spiritual gift and a D personality. Well, what that tells me is, as an administrator, she's good at organizing people. And with a D personality, she will lead it. She will be dominant. So I said to her, I imagine that if someone gave you a schedule, you would know who to put in the right places on the schedule, but then you would be the one to go to them and say, I'm going to see you next weekend. And if they don't show up, you wouldn't mind calling them and saying, hey, you missed last weekend. I'll be looking for you to fill the gap this weekend because we really need you. She said, no, I wouldn't have any problem doing that. But see, where a person with an S personality, they would never confront someone. So what an S personality would do, if someone doesn't show up, they'll just keep going back to the nursery and serving themselves. They'll serve 12 weeks in a row before they would ever confront or ask someone else. After speaking to her, the lady, and later her getting involved, she came back and she said, wow, that revolutionized the way that I think and the way that I serve, and now I'm passionate serving in the nursery, but I'm doing something that some of the other ones did not want to do. I'm leading it and taking charge. What a great example of how to do that. I'll give you one other quick example in the corporate side. We use this we have a corporate version of this called imprintassessments.com. And from the corporate version, we use it with a lot of different companies, large and small, one of them being in the Chick-fil-A world. And many of you understand and know Chick-fil-A, especially in the South and around these regions. We understand what it means and the importance of how we all love Chick-fil-A. Well, as we were working with a team one day, one of the things that I brought up was, do you feel, passionate about what you're doing? So we talked about the drive-through, and I said, if you were working in the drive-through right now, and one of the positions in drive-through is cash box, that's the one that takes your money or that takes your card. What would you say the the spiritual gift, or in their case, the competency that's needed there. And they chose the one that we call networker, which is evangelist, because they can talk to anyone. They'll speak to anybody, and they're good at it, and they're okay with that. And I asked the question, I said, well, tell me this. What is the one thing that person needs to get right every single time? It's the money. Well, you need someone more with the gift of giving, or the examiner, the person who understands money, the person who understands spreadsheets and systems, because they're going to see and understand it right off. If I pull up to the window and I give for 91 cents, I give $1 and a penny to a person that is an evangelist, they don't even know how to count. And I'm being a little facetious. And so they're going to say to me, I don't need the penny, and what are you doing? And I had to explain it to them, and they're going to laugh, and we're going to go, oh, wow, that was great. But if I do that same thing with someone who has the gift of giving, or we call it also examiner, they would see that $1 and a penny and immediately know a dime with no questions asked. Well, in the Chick-fil-A world, think about it. When they're wrapped around the building in cars, 2 cars wide and all the way around the building, down on the 4-lane, if that networker is wasting 15, 20, 30 seconds per car talking to them, think of what that's hurting the drive-through, where the examiner would keep things moving and do it efficiently, and so we save time and money. Well, the same thing can be found in this world. When you go in the church world, why would you want the wrong person at the front door greeting people who is not gifted to do that or passionate to do that? So I think you understand now a little bit about what this can do, and there's a lot more. This is very robust and can do even more than what we're showing you here. So you're probably saying, what do I do from here? Well, you could do nothing and remain frustrated and just continue on the course you're on. But I believe the 2 choices that really you could look at would be these. The first choice is you can search the web and hope to find everything on your own. You can do this without us. You can do the legwork and get in there and get involved. You can pay for all of it individually, or you can try to find a way to assess all of your members yourselves, the personality, the spiritual gift, and the learning style. You can also put it all together in a lot of spreadsheets. Of course, the way that we've done it allows all these things to integrate together, and so it's going to be a little difficult, and we've spent years. This is a long endeavor putting all of this together. So that is one choice, and you can make that, and you could start today, and you may already be doing some of that. But the other choice, obviously, is Ministry Imprint Database. This is so inexpensive and so available anywhere around the world. This can be used immediately. You could register with Ministry Imprint Database and be up and running and have your people being assessed and into your database and begin to use that literally within that day. So it's we believe it's been laid out in a way that's very understandable, and we have a team also that wants to help you to do that. So what's next? Someone will contact you, and we will help you to grow yourself and your ministry to the next level.